Hi, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for joining us today. You can still see Daniel Evans, but Daniel is not with us today. He is in London. I'm Omran Habal, CEO of Birmingham Enterprise Community, and I'm really glad to be hosting this session and meeting and having with us Martin Murphy. So, quick introduction to Martin, and then Martin gonna give really interesting talk and some really good insights. So Martin is a special guest who's a former Special Forces soldier, SAS, and as it's known, SAS is all about performance and experts in their field, and so is Martin, utilizing his expertise to help entrepreneurs as high performance coach. As you know, usually we talk about competitive advantage in businesses, but competitive advantage is traditional, becoming very traditional bits. And as you know, at BEC, we always say collaboration over competition, collaboration, not competition. And Martin today is going to be telling us about the importance of those collaborations and how to have good and a great relationship with the people around us so we can thrive together. Martin, thank you so much for joining us today, and the floor is yours.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. I'll just see if I can present share screen. Hold on. Let's have a look. I'm just trying to work my way around this. Just a point.
No worries.
Sure. Let's have a look. So, can you see that?
Yep. Perfect.
Slides.
Yep.
There. Got it?
Yeah. Perfect.
Sorry, I didn't have any practice on this. So, anyway, my name's Martin Murphy. Let's have a look. I'm going to talk about the power of collaboration. Just shout up if anything goes wrong and I can't see it from this end. So it's always, as it's already been mentioned, we always talk about the competitive advantage when we're talking about entrepreneurialism and setting up businesses and being in business. But there's some interesting facts around that. Here's one, for instance, only about 1 in 400 people who start a business actually get to the point where they can sell the business and be financially free. And of course, with everything that's going on, that number is going to probably increase. Another interesting aspect, according to McKinsey, even if you've got a really good team and you've got a parent company sponsoring a new business, less than a quarter will succeed. And that's with all the resources and all the skill that they need. And according to Daniel Priestley, about 70% of the people who do start businesses spend years and years in the wilderness, always struggling, actually probably earning less than what they get for working in a company. So some sobering facts there, really. Right now, we're kind of heading in two different directions. On the one hand, we've got the techno-optimists who say that there's all this great stuff and technology is great. But at the same time, you've got the eco-pessimists that are kind of saying, yeah, but we're just about to fall off an ecological cliff and there's lots of inequality and that kind of thing. In sophisticated societies, the life expectancy of a society is about 500 to 1,000 years. So you've got people questioning, I call it half-moon thinking. Are we in a really good place or are we not in a good place? And probably it's a mixture of the both. So how did we get here? So if we have a look at our early ancestors, we began our evolutionary journey around 7 million years ago. And so we got all this evolutionary design. So everything that we need, we don't need new models per se. Everything that we need to succeed and adapt in this world, it's inbuilt. The challenge we've got is that something happened along the way. Now, as I said, 4-7 million years are, if we look at primates, for instance, they live in hierarchical communities, and it's this physical hierarchy. So the strongest if you like, survives, and they get all the resources. About 200,000 years ago, we changed that viewpoint because we learned to speak. And in that time, for about 150,000 years, we lived in these eco-social egalitarian communities. Now, in these, and we know about these people because we've, the contemporary hunter-gatherer tribes have been studied in the Kalahari. These are the San tribes people, but there's others in Indonesia and places like that. And these people live in egalitarian ways, and there's less inequality, which is something that people, talk a lot about. Men and women had tend to have different roles, but they can swap over. The women can hunt and the men do gather type of thing. So this 150,000 years, bearing in mind society's only lasted about 500, these guys have outlasted a couple of Chinese dynasties, the Roman Empire, and probably us. And they've got the oldest DNA. Now then, about 10,000 years ago, someone, probably a male, got hold of some technology and was therefore able to get an advantage. And from that, we then started the technical hierarchical age that we're in now for the last 10,000 years. So what this kind of means is that we've gone from this ecocentric, egalitarian, community kind of feel to things where everyone, the actual San tribes people were called the first affluent society. And now we've gone to this technological hierarchy. If you've got your hands on the tech, then you stand a better chance of getting more resources. And so we kind of have to look, well, okay, yeah, but we're on this collision course with the ecology. So what, they're kind of asking what's next. Now, the reason we get into hierarchies is because all our previous versions of us are wrapped up inside our head. And if someone gets any kind of status, then it kickstarts a primitive part of our brain called the dominance behavior system. And when that happens, people that are underneath that dominant person then starts acting a different kind of way. So it's weird that, our evolutionary advantage, we have to remember that we collaborated our way to the top of the evolutionary tree. We didn't compete our way there. And the reason why we were able to become egalitarian and stay egalitarian is that when the hunter brought food back, the rest of the community would actually use satire and humour to sort of say, whatever you brought back, it wasn't that good. And it was good-natured satire and humour just to keep everyone in this, not let the hunters get too big and big for the boots, as it were. Unfortunately, what we've got now is, because we have this technology, we're building tools, or some people are building tools, I call them TAPs, technology to accumulate power. And as you can see from the map, say water takes all the resources from a wide area and funnels it up through a small tap. And then, people come up with things like trickle-down economics and that kind of thing. But actually, that doesn't work because all these I call them inner chumps, are holding onto the taps, and they're not going to let it go because, well, they get richer by doing that. So we talk about entrepreneurs, but I mean, entrepreneurs are a kind of archetype and founders and that kind of thing. But they've not changed much in the 200,000 years that we've been around. So we've got hunter, gatherer, scouts, and shamans. Now, the hunter go out, they are risk tolerant, and they're able to focus on the prize. And the scouts, well, they go out and look for new hunting grounds and the new communities. And, communities always used to have weddings between them, obviously. And the shamans are the keepers of the wisdom. They like certainty because the shamans needed to know what berries you ate and what berries would kill you if you ate them, sort of thing. And the gatherers actually provided most of the resource because obviously the hunter wasn't always successful. So very much like today, you've got founders, entrepreneurs, managers, and team coaches. And so if we look at, say, we often call Richard Branson a serial entrepreneur. He's actually a serial founder because what founders do is four things. They go into they look at a situation, they challenge the status quo, they make new connections across areas, and they come up with creative solutions, and then they champion those solutions. And if you look at Richard Branson, he goes into a place, has a look at it, challenges it, says we can do something better. But Richard Branson doesn't actually drive that. He hires his own executives who are entrepreneurial and managerial, and they are the ones that actually bring the business into fruition. And then Richard Branson just goes on somewhere else and does something else. He's a serial founder. He's in that respect. So as you can see, there's also an arrow going around. So we can see that, all right, if you look at the archetypes, there's a founder stage, there's an entrepreneurial stage, there's a manager stage, because you don't want to be always in this competitive space. You want to create some certainty. But it tends to stop there. If you look at the business evolutionary life cycle as this, what you see is the entrepreneurs and managers, really, it's all about what they want to do and what they think. So command and control. And then because of this technology hierarchy, this is the egocentric stage. And what that kind of means is the ego is only scared of two things: not getting what it wants, which drives the entrepreneur, and when it's got it, it's scared of losing it, which drives the managers. And because we don't have any social norms anymore, businesses consolidate the power instead of it going down to the community and things like that. But obviously, if teams collaborate through the normal evolution of what should happen, is that then the managers will then hand the power to the teams. And this is, I talk a lot about the elite team concept. Elite teams are like this. This is where organizations, when organizations really want something done quickly, like the military or something like that, they create special project teams, or they call them elite teams in the military. And these guys collaborate really powerfully. And as a result of that, their collective creativity, right, collective intelligence rises, and they produce more goods and services. Now, most businesses will last about 20, well, not most, the longest businesses last are about 20 years. If they last longer than that, it's because they've completely evolved from where they are. And that means tapping into the collective creativity of your teams and collaborating more powerfully is a better way to look at things. So as I said before, there's a create stage, there's a compete stage, because people are supposed to collaborate. The ideas are supposed to compete. So you get this idea meritocracy, the best ideas compete. And that's what's supposed to happen. But we seem to have a problem, because with power, evolution kicks in. So as soon as the entrepreneur and the managers get hold of the resources and they start paying themselves more money, they won't let go of the bananas, as it were. They won't pass it on to the rest of people. And so you get this. Joseph Campbell calls it a failure to return. But there's this life cycle that's going on all the time. This is you can see it in communications and teams that are developing. But basically, you go from an independent founder stage of, I've got a dream, I've got an idea. The entrepreneur, he takes that idea and runs with it, because they're risk tolerant. They don't mind, they can focus on things. They're very sort of egocentric about this, because they kind of have to be, because they're competing. But it's a very codependent stage. Everyone's reliant on the entrepreneur to answer all the questions and solve problems on the go. But they're designed to do that. They're designed for that kind of thing. They then pass the ball on to the manager. This is a counter-dependent stage. So this is where you don't want to rely on the entrepreneur. You want to rely on processes and things like that, and create a bit of stability and certainty. And then what you're supposed to do then is, okay, we'll pass it down to the team, the community, and the kind of managers or the leaders that we have there. The leading operating style, I call it, is as a team coach. And you use the collective intelligence of the team. And we call this our business. It's intradependent. And then eventually, if you're really clever, and I do know some founders, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call them, they do this a lot. And as we talked about there with Richard Branson, he kind of, we can sell it on to other people. We could sell it to the team, and the founder, who's probably bored by this time anyway, or the founder or the entrepreneur, can go do something else. So that's, I think that's what's supposed to happen. But of course, we've got this failure to return, as Joseph Campbell calls it. It's when, the hero on the hero's journey, Jason of the Argonauts, he comes back with a golden fleece and is supposed to pass it on to the community, or pass it on to the community. But what's happening is we're getting stuck at that stage, and all the marketing and everything that you're being told is all to, oh no, you've got to compete, look for your competitive advantage and things like that. But actually, no, the people that are really successful learn to collaborate later on. So we know that collaboration is a really good thing, because these players provided platforms for you to collaborate. The challenge with this is, of course, is that, again, they then, because they've got first mover advantage, they then obviously deny anyone else an opportunity to get in there. But they've tapped into that idea of the collaborative power of collaboration, as it were. In the Second World War, just after the Second, well, during the Second World War, in fact, the Japanese used to use this idea and post the Second World War, the Americans broke them all. What they had zaibatsus then, but the post-war situation was that the Americans thought, actually, we need Japan to become an economic miracle again. So the Japanese went back to what they do best, which is they form these keiretsus, set of companies, interlocking businesses, very much like a loosely organised alliance, usually around a bank, and they became very successful, as we know from post-war Japan. So we just have to be careful with this. So, as I say, the keiretsus and the platform economy are, because they're technology, they develop these tools to accumulate power. And what we really need is more local economic generation opportunities. So we need local people to start collaborating, not get transfixed with trying to do this thing on their own. And quite often, if I'm coaching people, solo entrepreneur and things like that, the first thing I'll say is get yourself a team. You don't have to pay them necessarily. It could be someone else who's got complementary skills, because you start to generate that collective intelligence amongst you all. And as a result of that, as soon as two people join, you doubled your network. And so think about generating local economic generating opportunities. So I do some work with this guy, Michael Powell, who's sat on top of the rock. And what he's done is started a community of people, for business people, entrepreneurs who like walking. And so he basically starts this thing called Fresh Walks, which has, a couple of WhatsApp groups and things like that. And it's a way of networking without actually going into an uncomfortable situation where you're always, what it's like. You probably know what it's like when you go into a networking thing and you're having to make polite chit chat. The fact that people are going out in the hills releases neurotransmitters. You feel pretty chilled. It's not as intensive as a networking thing where you're all having to make polite chit chat. It just happens a lot more naturally. But yeah, he started off with a community, and that's growing. This is my wife. We moved into where we are now, just south of Leek. We didn't really know anyone. We'd just come back from France. And my wife's an equestrian coach. And the first thing I advised her to do was start a community. And she did, Morelands Riding Club. And as a result of that, her network increased. And of course, people will do her favours because she does them favours. It's a very collaborative organisation, or community, I should say. And she gets clients on top of that as well. This is built by a collaborator of mine, Dr. Paul Thomas. He's a leadership and high performance consultant. And basically what he's done is he's set up a community gym. So it's set up for the community, by the community, and it's run by the community. So, instead of being a high street fitness, a normal kind of national chain of gyms, he's setting up ones that are run by the community. So each one will be slightly different, but it'll be run and owned by the community itself. This was a client of mine. Mike Pye is a friend now, obviously, but he's one of these people that came to me, and he was a solopreneur, and I said, just get yourself a team of people. Go and find other people that you can work with, that you complement each other's skills. And so Mike Pye and Co. is actually Mike Pye and Collaborators, and he's doing very well at the moment. So I mentioned employee-owned businesses. I think this is the natural progression of a founder or an entrepreneur. We call everyone entrepreneurs who owns a business, but they're just stages. You're not an entrepreneur. You'll be an entrepreneur 1 minute and a founder the next, and manager the next, and a father or something else, or a mother the next. And so I don't think it's a good idea. I think this idea of getting transfixed that I'm an entrepreneur depends what your personality is, really, whether you're entrepreneurial or whether you're more managerial or whether you're more of a coach. But anyway, what's supposed to happen is that we go through this life cycle. Everyone's got a part to play, and an equal part. So let's be more egalitarian about it. And when if you manage to get to a certain point where you've got a business, why not sell it to the employees and keep all that wealth within the community, as opposed to it becoming a tap? So behind every great person are a bunch of other people. Collaboration is our evolutionary competitive advantage. And of course, it's a fuel that allows ordinary people to achieve the extraordinary. We never achieved anything, on our own. It's always with a team of people. We talk about things like, let's be agile, let's be collaborative, let's give people ownership in business. Well, we're trying to give people these things which they already are. We just have to create the conditions for all these things to come out, not create new models to try and pretend that they've got ownership, that people can make decisions, things like that. We have to stop people going into this dominant behavior system, which kickstarts the involuntary defeat system. People are collaborative, they're very creative, they're very adaptable and agile, and if given the right conditions, they can adapt a lot better. That's me. If you need to go on martinmurphy.coach, you'll find me on the internet, and I think that will do. Stop sharing. I don't know if you're there. Are you?
Thank you so much, Martin. That was really nice. And I'm a big believer in the collaboration, because even back when we started, it was me and Dan, and it was an idea, and we had nothing in place. But who supported us to reach where we are is just by going to people and saying, we have this idea, we can do it ourselves, we need your help. Even though they are doing the same thing. But we said, we don't want to compete, but let's do we are trying to just fill in some gaps, and we need your help, we can do it ourselves. And through that, people have the mindset of like, I'm going to do it. You are being honest of what you are trying to do. And this is how all built. And it is, as I said, about the community. So what I'm going to do now, thank you so much for those who are attending us live on YouTube and Facebook. Right now, we got to go to the lounge, to the table, where we're going to be having Q&A session with the 1883 club members, and we have a lot as well from our friends joining us here and our partners, so it's going to be really interesting. So see you later on the other side. Martin, I'm going to go to the tables. And
okay.
Everyone. See you there, guys.
Thank you.